Joyous Rising, family. Good morning, Joyous Rising, Grand Rising. I am in a fabulous mood, darling. Just wonderful. So much good news, so many things that I've heard about this morning. I know it's early for me to come on, but it is somewhere around 9 o'clock. I'm on my way after I do this report to change my clothes and go to the gym so I can keep my energy up. I've had my coffee and my water. I'm getting ready to take my monatomic gold and monatomic silver and colloidal silver. But I had to give you some wonderful news and some breaking news. Good morning, family. Grand Rising. Great Rising, Amina. Good morning, Nikki. Hello, Dragonfly. Hi, Next Level. Good morning. Ooh, James. Hi, King James. Good morning. Yes, you caught me live again. Hello, Joyous Rising family. I'm so happy to report some news to you all today. Hello. I'm not going to make any promises. I'm going to tell you what I have and tell you what I discovered, what I found, and what's coming up in the news as we head towards tomorrow, which is November the 8th, election time, right? So I'm in a great mood. Hello, everybody. Hi, family. Check in. Where are you from? Oh, thank you for saying I'm a ray of sunshine. That's so sweet. Hi, Nikki. Hello, Teresa. Good morning, Coach Page. It's so wonderful to see you all. We have 76 people in the chat today. Hi, California. Good morning. Would you please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you share. Grand Rising gods and goddesses of the Most High. Oh, it's so wonderful to be here with you all today. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Today is what, Monday, right? Or Moon Day. My mom's birthday, November the 7th, 2022, and the time is exactly 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hello, much love to you too. Hi, St. Louis. Good morning, Largo, Florida. I'm in a great state of Florida, family. I am actually in Jacksonville, Florida. This is my new home. I came here from Kentucky last year. I love you, South Africa. Oh my gosh, you all have the best music in the world. Hi, family. Oh, thank you for enjoying my energy. Good morning. Yes, Sister Berlinda. You know, we all have to support each other, encourage each other, because the law of rhythm and the law of vibration says that everything operates on a frequency, everything emits a certain type of energy. And so, having said that, because we are all one, whenever we emit energy, it ripples throughout the universe and affects everything around us, every being, every creature, every insect, even the water is impacted by our energy. And if you don't know that to be so, you can set intentions by having a glass or a jar of water and having positive thoughts and emitting those thoughts into that water, and then you can drink the water and see that your vibrations will raise even more. Some people have tried experiments of putting positive thoughts in the water and then watering plants with the positive water, and then putting negative thoughts in water and putting those negative water thoughts into other pots. Guess which plants thrived? It was the plant or the plants that had the water with the positive energy directed into it. So thank you, Mom. If you're in the chat, Mr. or King James is saying, happy birthday. So my mom is only 15 years older than I, so we're friends. Well, don't get her twisted now. She's my mama. She corrects me, but we're friends in that we share information. We can talk about, guys and stuff like that. So I was from Louisville, Kentucky. So I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Then, as a teenager, my mom moved us to Portsmouth, Ohio, where my great grandfather lived. He was from Columbia. He's the first one to introduce me to silver and gold. And when he died when I was 7, he left some coins to us. I've given that story, but we didn't know that it was real gold and silver. So we donated it to the temple at the time. And as a result, I believe we were blessed. So we spent time in Portsmouth, Ohio. And then I got married to my children's father when I was 18. 18. My children's father and I actually first met when I was about 10 in church, and I didn't remember that until I became a teenager and I fell in love with him about 15. And my mom said, "You remember that guy that you used to talk about that couldn't play the piano? You know, he used to make so much noise." I say, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, that's the guy you're in love with now." And then at 18, I married him. We had 4 children. And then we went away before we had children and got married. We went away to college. While we were in college, we got married. While I was 18, we had children. And yeah, so I was in Portsmouth, Ohio, and then I got a degree there, and then I moved to West Virginia, got a master's degree there. Then I moved to Kentucky. So Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky is considered the tri-state region. So I never thought I would move away from that area. So then I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, family, and got my degree there, and I worked in the church, built a church, helped build a church, help build the church, not really build the church up, but increase the numbers and help the population through volunteerism and help some schools and stuff like that. And then recently I moved to the great state of Florida. So let's get on to the news. Somebody says, "I charge my water with my," oh yes, iTerra device, Sister Cheryl Ann. Yes. So thank you for loving my spirit, family. Listen, woo, I am so excited. So great rising, joyous rising. Let's get on with the news because I have to go and work out after this. So I was following this gentleman by the name of Bobby King. He is from Iraq. And he stated on his channel that the Iraqi people are very pleased with the new premier of Iraq. He said that the country is now stable. There's no more ISIS that's running through the streets and taking over. He said that everybody is pretty calm now and that they like the new premier's cabinet. He said the cabinet is all good. That's what he said. Those were his words. And he said that the bad people of Iraq are all gone. Now, why is this important? Hello, good morning from sunny Clearwater, Florida. I love Clearwater. So that whole Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area is beautiful. The air is beautiful and the energy is high vibrational. I just love it. So family, again, this guy goes by Bobby King, and he said, Iraq is all good now. And so if you all recall, it was either yesterday or the day before, and I'm going to get to this, something I need to show you. The Iraqi premier had said, and I posted this in the video, he said that he will increase the value of the IQD against the USD. So that is important for those of us who have Iraqi dinar. And even if you don't have Iraqi dinar, but you have other currencies, this is letting you know that soon there will be a revaluation of currencies. So that premier had actually said, and his name is Prime Minister or Premier Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. So I wanted to get his name correct. That's why I had to read that. I want to give him his respect. In a press conference, he said that the government, with the help of Central Iraq, or the Central Bank of Iraq, will do its best to increase the price of the IQD against the US dollar. The premier of Iraq also said that the Iraqi government will work with other neighboring countries to return Iraq its stolen money. He then said that in previous administrations that the interests of the needy had never been taken into consideration in devaluing the currency because their country's currency has been significantly devalued. Hi, Atlanta. He said, but under my administration, my first job is to, one, consider the needy, and two, revalue the IQD against the USD, and three, my third responsibility is to fight endemic corruption. So we've been waiting for the government there to be stable, for Iraq to be stable. And people usually, when I talk about Iraq, ask me about Vietnam. Vietnam has been stable for a while. In fact, in 2020, when all the world was shut down and the flu was running rampant through the whole world, Vietnam was actually doing extremely well, thriving, building up their country, importing and exporting. They were doing just fine. So we knew that the Vietnamese dong would soon be revalued and probably have gold to back it up. So somebody says only the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq, can change the revalue the currency. So let me show you something that I found, because I told you all on yesterday, I think it was, that in 2019 and 2020, you used to be able to Google, is the Iraqi dinar backed by gold? And let me show you what it used to say. So kudos to my friend Patrick Hawkins from my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. He found a screenshot, because he and I had screenshotted when it said that the Iraqi dinar was gold backed. So that was 2019, 2020. And then when we had this new administration, when fake 46 came online, they changed it. So let me let you see this. I hope you can see it. It's so bright in here. So this is what I found. Patrick found the screenshot for me. Somebody screenshot that, as if you can. I'm going to read it to you. And it's also my thumbnail. He found this. This is what it said in 2020. Okay. Hello, Louisiana. So what it said is, when you would type in, is the Iraqi dinar backed by gold? It said the Iraqi dinar is backed by gold now, and the currencies issued backed by gold are considered one of the most powerful currencies in the world. Moreover, the currency is supported by $82 billion cash reserves and 122 tons of gold reserves, along with many other foreign bills that make it stronger in the foreign markets. So I'll read it again. Is the Iraqi dinar gold backed? Is what we put in Google, and I would speak and say, Siri, Google, is the Iraqi dinar gold backed? Iraqi dinar is gold backed now, and the currencies issued backed by gold are considered one of the most powerful currencies in the world. Moreover, the currency is supported by $82 billion cash reserves and 122 tons of gold reserves, along with many other foreign bills that make it stronger in the foreign markets. Now, I don't know why Google removed this, but here is proof. Here is the screenshot that we found in our archives. And I will put that in the community section for you. So what is the community section? That's when you go to YouTube and you see my channel at the top, you'll see different tabs. I want you to click on community, and I will upload that for you and put it so that you can read it for yourself. So my question is Iraq now gold backed? Because it used to say that it was. And we know that Iraq is one of the countries that applied to join the BRICS nation or the BRICS Union. We know that when BRICS left, the United States dollar and the USD, they fled to other commodities, including gold. So if Iraq agreed to become a part of the BRICS nation, and now we hear people saying, and from Iraq, that the country is stable, that they trust this new government and this new premier, that they believe that all the people that are in power, they're good people. And we hear the new premier said he's fighting against endemic corruption, that he's considering the needy, and that he is revaluing the IQD against the USD. Now, he didn't say how he would revalue it. He didn't say what the new revaluation would be, but there is some speculation, according to this guy who reports on his channel from Iraq, that it will go to the original rate. He said, I'm not talking about the low rate. I'm talking about it may be over $3. But I've always said, and I'm very careful about who I say this to, that the people who are part of the farmers' claims that led to Nasara told us that they were told by the military that the rate will be very high, much higher than $3. So that it could even be as much as $100 to $150 compared to the USD. So we're not exactly sure. But if Iraq has gold to back up the IQD, and we hear that they're going to revalue the IQD, then family, that, my darlings, is good news that makes Mama Kia joyous. So what else is in the news? This was breaking news. Somebody says they don't think it will go to $3 right away. Plan for 1-to-1, and then it will float eventually. Okay, good advice. So thank you for saying I look lovely, family. Maybe it's that Florida sunshine. So this was in the news this morning. And it was breaking news. So you all know that currencies are strengthening and rebounding against the USD, as the United States dollar, which used to be the world reserve currency, is now declining in value. So now this came out, breaking news, that the ruble is now the world's best performing currency this year. The ruble is the Russian money. Isn't it something that the Russian ruble is doing extremely well, considering that 46 had put sanctions on Russia? Remember, 46 put sanctions on Russia because Russia went into the ukulele, that country that starts with UK. And Russia went into that country actually to dismantle the deep state that is there and to bring it back under the union. So when Russia did that, 46 put sanctions against Russia, and Russia clapped back on that tail by saying, we don't need you. We'll just leave the United States dollar, and we will go and we will flee to a basket of currencies that's backed by the USD. So when Russia did that, Russia actually led the BRICS Union, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, hello, South Africa family, to leave the USD and go to gold. And then Saudi Arabia, which is a very important country, moved to the BRICS Union. They became Sal BRICS. Now, we know that that's important because we had an agreement with Saudi Arabia that we would protect their nation if they trade us the gold for USDs, and we will force other nations to trade give us the oil. I'm sorry. We would force other nations to buy oil from them using our USD. So when that union or that agreement between us and Saudi Arabia was broken by Saudi Arabia saying they're going to leave, Grand Rising, the USD, that was huge because the BRICS nations alone is comprised of 3.22 billion people. So 3.22 billion people is 40% of the global population. We're approaching 8 billion in population, which is why, Gates wanted to get rid of us through injections. And if you look up the Bilderberg Depopulation Conference, you will see Gates talking about how he was going to do this through injections, try to depopulate the population. But he's gone. So we are approaching 8 billion. And what Bill Gates had said is we're now getting ready to approach soon 9 billion people. This was at the 2012 Bilderberg Depopulation Agenda or Conference. He said, we're approaching 9 billion people. We've got to decrease this population through and spend most of our efforts in Africa, is what he said. But the thing about creation is we're going to keep having babies, honey, because we love making love. We love it, honey. We love making love to our partners and our companions to get that kundalini energy flowing up our spine so that we can create. So we are approaching 9 billion. And when you have the BRICS Union leaving the USD, that's 40% of the population. Then Saudi Arabia joined. Then Iran, Iraq, Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, Egypt, and all these other exporting nations joined the BRICS Union. So that made the USD go down in value. But this article that was about Russia is really encouraging. Well, especially when you consider that Russia is the one who led everybody away from the USD. So they talked about how the newly designed Russian ruble banknote was first seen on July 6, 2020. It was seen at the Gaznak printing factory in Moscow, Russia, on July 6, 2020, according to Reuters. So this was the breaking news. It says the ruble strengthened on Monday, November the 7th, 22, this morning, belatedly responding to last Friday's dollar weakness as it pulled away from its lowest point since mid-October. That was hit before the Russian markets closed for the 3-day weekend. It goes on to say the ruble is the world's best performing currency this year. And then it says that it is the best performing currency this year, supported by capital controls and an initial collapse in imports as a result of Western sanctions on Russia over its actions in the ukulele, and scores of foreign companies pausing operations in the country due to sanctions. So the Russian ruble is now the strongest currency, according to this article. And somebody said, we don't die, we multiply. That's right. You're not going to get rid of this. You're not going to get rid of the global population, because we're just going to keep on making babies, honey. We love over here. We love making love too. So this is very encouraging news. It's for our Russian brothers and sisters and for us, because it's breaking news and it's just letting us know that since Russia was one of probably the first nation to leave the USD and go to or encourage BRICS to now flee to gold, then all the other nations or Western nations, not Western nations, but exporting nations, joined that union. And that strengthens the whole concept of fleeing the USD as a reserve currency and now going back to gold, which is real money or sound money. Now, I also found peace and blessings. I was talking about on one of my live streams, I think it was yesterday, that Russia had actually said in 2018 that they were going to the gold standard. And I still have that article. And so what they did is they reported in 2018 and reported in 2019 using the same article. And then they reported it in 2022. And I did a broadcast about that. And so when I talked to you about how Russia had been saying this since 2018, I also talked about how Zimbabwe had made an announcement in 2018 and 2019 that they were moving to the gold standard. And they had announced that they were making an agreement with China for China to help them mine the gold there. So I'm just so grateful, because Patrick heard me say, I need to find some proof that Russia had said this. I mean, Zimbabwe had said years ago they were returning to the gold standard, because again, remember, 209 countries agreed to return to the gold standard. We've been saying this since 2016, 2017, but it didn't look like we were telling the truth until those articles came out in 2018. And because most of the masses were not awakened, they did not know to believe us, trust us, or even they didn't know where to look. Well, Patrick Hawkins, who is my friend from my hometown, Cleveland, found the clip, because he and I used to share information and share screenshots and say, look, people think we're crazy, but we know what we're talking about. And this is where Zimbabwe announced 2 years ago that they were going to the gold standard. It says Zimbabwe going gold standard with advanced financial technology. Here is that. Somebody take a screenshot of that. I'll put that in my community section as well. I'm going to read it to you. This is about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is also mining platinum. Somebody said, oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Colleen, excuse me. Hello. Somebody said, move over, Bobby. Dr. Kia Prue is looking good. Well, thank you, my darling. So this says, Zimbabwe going gold standard with advanced financial technology, fintech, in parentheses. Let's see. The discussion of financial technology known as fintech, is on the rise in government administrations around the world. While many are still pondering the possibilities of trials and implementations, Zimbabwe is taking up the mantle and running with this technology. Zimbabwe, and we highlighted that, is now the first country to sign an agreement with Apollo FinTech to host a gold standard currency on its blockchain. That was 2 years ago. So I just wanted to bring that to you because this is all good news as we've been talking about the gold standard and how central banks are buying up gold. And I will talk to you about that in a minute about central banks buying up gold in mass. But before we go further into that, thank you. Let's talk about the news that I saw flashing across my telephone in the middle of the night. And then for some reason it changed. Now, maybe things just change. I noticed that you can report a certain article, but when you look at articles, family, screenshot those articles because the news, the mainstream media, news and journalists, there's something else. They will change the link to say something else once you reported it, or just to change something else to fit their agenda. And I have proof of that because I had an article where I was talking about that the shutdown was going to come. I kept saying it was going to happen. I reported it in March before it happened. And that article went viral. It went all over the world and people started reporting on their platforms. But later on, after the shutdown, that same source, the main source where it was published, changed my date from early March to June of 2020. Like after after everything was, dying down. And I thought, why would they do that? You could go to the same link and they change the news. So you have to be very mindful. Somebody says, I have Zim and I can't wait. Yes, to help people around the world. Because at the top left of the Zim note, it says it is a promise to pay the bearer upon demand. So this morning I got a notification that said Dow futures slide 2,000 points or 2,000 2,000 points as investors await midterm elections and inflation report. So again, it was breaking news. I think it was on Newsweek, but it says Dow futures slide 2,000 points as investors await midterm elections and inflation report. So I screenshot that. I jotted it down. I said, oh my God, 2,000 points. That's interesting because we kept saying that this is the Shamatai period. And during the Shamatai period, if you're Hebrew, if you know any Hebrew history, you know that during the Shamatai, they always have a financial crash or a stock market crash. And we've been hearing that around elections or sometime during this period, that there's going to be a big stock market crash. So anything that's tied to the USD as it declines in value will probably crash. So I said, let me get this and write this down so I can report that to the family because, they might let it crash or it might become volatile. Who knows? Or maybe they'll do something to support it up. But again, my intel told me years ago that they will allow the stock market to crash as they completely decimate this financial structure, this financial system, and the USD that had been backed by nothing because it is fiat, and then they will resurge or have a structure of a new financial system that will come online. So then somebody said, why are they selling weak currencies if they are so valuable? Because they will become valuable once the currencies are backed by gold. That's called the global currency reset and a revaluation of currency. So all currencies around the world will be revalued based on the country's resources once we all return to the gold standard, which has already happened. It's just have not been an official announcement. That's an excellent question. So the creator desires for us to get in on what other entities have been doing. So you have politicians, you have high military personnel who used to buy devalued currencies. Once the United States corporation would go into countries and cause a war and decimate their countries and decimate their economy, the currency would devalue. And then the United States, after having funded both sides, will go into the country, build up the nations, and then the currency will be revalued or go back to its original value or even higher. And then those people that held those countries when they bought low would exchange those currencies for a higher amount and get a greater return on their investment. And that's how a lot of your politicians and high people, CEOs of banks and military personnel became rich. Well, that secret was kept away from us, but now the creator and the beings that are here from other realms desire for us to get in on that type of lifestyle and become wealthy so we can experience wealth and prosperity and enrich our families and help ourselves, our communities, and other nations. So that was an excellent question, Ken Martin. So if there's a saying that economists say, buy low, sell high. So that was my long answer to your question. So yes, the Zim note to get is the one that says 2008 through 2009 AA or AB series. Okay, so the Dow future slid late Sunday night 2,000 points as the investors were awaiting midterm elections and inflation report. Everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen on November 8th, which is tomorrow. But then early this morning, about 8:23, there was a report that says Monday, 8:23, stock futures rise to start the week as traders await midterm elections and inflation report. So you're probably going to see the markets become volatile until they completely crash the system. And so we're just going to stay encouraged and trust and know that the creator has our best interest at heart. Because if they do, or when they do crash that system, they will bring on a new system online. And so that's what we see going on behind the scenes, which is why bankers and mysterious people are buying up gold en masse. So let me show you this article. All this stuff that I'm reporting today, this stuff, all of these reports, I will make sure I have an article to go with them or a screenshot or something to go with them. And I will put that in the description section of this video. Family, it is so important for you to look at the description section of the videos. Sometimes it takes me a while, maybe the end of the day or the next day to put all the articles there. It's important for you to look into the description section because I go through a lot of work for you finding articles to support my claim. It's good to report something, but it's better to report with sources to support your claim, even if people don't believe it, so they can read it for themselves. And I do my best to do as much work as I can for you because a lot of you work, a lot of you have children, a lot of you are in school, and you're very busy. So it's my great pleasure to present the news. And it's your responsibility to do your due diligence, to look at what I say, and to look at other sources and seek to prove me right or prove me wrong. I had a pastor that used to say, listen to what I say and then listen to the sources. And he used to say to prove me right because he knew he was right because he did extensive research. He said, but even try to prove me wrong because you need to know this information for yourself. So somebody said they're exhausted, but they've been patient. They've been holding the IQD for years. The IQD is the Iraqi dinar. I found an article that says mystery whales baffle the gold market. So it says that central banks are buying gold en masse. It says this one article is funny because it's entitled, Even Central Banks Are Buying Gold for the Zombie Apocalypse. That came out this morning at 5:02 a.m., November 7th. I don't know what zombie apocalypse they're talking about, but I don't know, maybe they anticipate one. But this is a direct quote. There are two quotes that I desire to read to you today from this article. And I didn't say who this is from, but you can type in, even central banks are buying gold for the zombie apocalypse. 5:02 a.m. today, November the 7th, 2022. Here's a quote. Bullion does have one critical advantage. Unlike bonds, it does not bind you into a relationship with an unreliable counterparty. And then here's a second quote. It says, in a world where you can trust no one, it makes sense to bulletproof yourself with metals. And that came from the Washington Post. So in a world where you can trust no one, it only makes sense to bulletproof yourself with metals. How do you bulletproof yourself with metals? Because dollars or fiat currencies always devalue. It never works out that they last throughout history. But gold, they call it God's money, and silver has been here since the beginning of all time, since creation. And the thing about gold and silver or precious metals is they maintain their value. So you can take your USD, which is failing or declining, and purchase precious or roll it over, let's put it that way, into precious metals, and precious metals will hold its value, whereas it's like a savings account, right? You're your own bank when you have gold and silver, whereas if you had the dollar tucked away under your mattress like my grandparents used to do, or my grandma used to put it in her bra, if you put it there, it's just decreasing in value. You won't make any money on that. Even if you have it in the banks, you won't make any money during this time when the USD is devaluing. So it's best to go ahead and roll it over into precious metals. And one thing we know by studying history is as the USD and other fiat currencies decline in value, gold always increases in value. Silver always maintains its value or increases in value. And if you look at gold and silver prices right now, they are slowly creeping up. Okay, this is because people are moving away from the USD. So I reported this the other day that it says central banks bought a record of 399 tons of gold in the amount of $20 billion in the third quarter alone in 2022. So the third quarter would have been July, August, September, that this summer, the same time period when Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, told all of us, I mean, you can look it up all over Google. People were all over the internet. People were interviewing Andy Schectman. He told us, this was in July, the end of July, that a billionaire had contacted him. She wanted to purchase silver and gold, $50 million worth. 50 million in silver and 50 million in gold. Okay. No, I'm sorry. 25 million in silver, 25 million in gold, for a total of 50 million worth of precious metals. So much money that the banks would not release her money initially. They gave her such a hard time that they not only gave her a hard time, they contacted Mr. Schectman of Miles Franklin to find out, are you an authentic dealer? You want us, you agree that she should be wiring her money to you. And they tried to make him prove that this was authentic. And that really should be unlawful. That, like, who are you to do that when somebody has their money in your account? This woman had been banking, this billionaire had been banking with this company for years. And when they did that to her and wouldn't release her money, she threatened them with lawsuits, and then they released her money. So you have billionaires now getting into gold and silver. So again, central banks bought a record number of 399 tons of gold in the third quarter, which was the last quarter, and they equated to $20 billion worth of gold. That same quarter, a billionaire contacted Mr. Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, and bought $50 million worth of precious metals. So you all know I have a relationship with Andy Schectman. He will be here tomorrow to speak to us. Our interview is in the morning. I'll upload that video later. He'll talk to us about what's going on in the markets. He'll give us an update. We have bi-weekly updates on our channel now, and he will just, if we any questions you have for him, he will answer some of those questions as time permits. So one of my questions I asked him is, how can we prepare? So if you have any questions for him, please either put it in the chat or in the comments section, and we will have those questions as we can answered. So if you need precious metals, you might look into your neighborhood, into your local, look at Google, your local numismatics companies or coin companies, and purchase from there, because typically your premiums might be a little lower. Your premiums is a price above the spot price. So the spot price of precious metals is the same across the board everywhere, no matter what shop you go to. The spot price is the market price, the market rate of precious metals. That's one price. The last time I looked, the spot price of silver was $21.19, something like that. $21, a little over $21 an ounce. The spot price of gold was somewhere around $1,655 per ounce of gold. So that's the basic price, the market price. The premium above that is the cost of doing business with a particular dealer. So every dealer has to have a premium because it costs them to purchase the gold and silver from wholesalers and then to have it delivered to you. So the premium, again, is the cost above the market price or the spot price that it takes for doing business with the company, as well as a numismatic value that's put on there. A numismatic value is a value of a coin based on its collector's value. So again, so those are the spot prices of silver and gold. And the last time I looked, I think it was like maybe Friday, so it may have changed. But it looks like the suppression is stopping, the price suppression, as JP Morgan had to pay what it was, it $90 million, something like that. I can't remember exactly, for suppressing the markets. And they actually admitted to being fraudulent in doing that. Some inside traders and other people have been arrested, actually, not just paying fines, for suppressing the markets. So listen, family, as people get into gold and silver and the demand increase, you're going to see the premium costs go up. And you're also going to see that the demand continue to get high, which will lead to not only premium prices going up, but a dwindling of the supply, because there's only a certain amount of gold and silver above ground that's being reported. So we don't want to wait to get into gold and silver if we can get into it, to get us some. You're going to be okay if you don't, but if you can, because in 2008, and Mr. Sheckman from Miles Franklin has said this, he hasn't seen anything like this since 2008, when people couldn't get a hold of product because wholesalers are reporting that some of the product is dwindling. Now, of course, we're going to have silver and gold to be mined and have more product, but we're talking about what's available right now. And he said, I haven't seen anything like this where the supply is dwindling since 2008, when it took 3 months for people to have products delivered to them. So we don't want to wait. We want to go ahead and look at our local coin companies, or you can contact Miles Franklin by emailing info at milesfranklin.com. That's milesfranklin.com. So email Andy at info at milesfranklin.com and ask him to send you a list of his inventories plus the prices, and then you can go ahead and place your order. And in the comment section of that email, in the body, or in the subject section, just let them know Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you, and you would get the best prices in the industry. Now, the reason why I know it's the best prices in the industry is because I'm a researcher. And I've looked, I've done business with all the companies that I can think of, and I found Andy to be have the lowest prices because he's been in the business for so long, over 30 years, 33 years, and he's approaching how much in business has he done? $8 billion worth of business of selling precious metals, and he is one of 24 companies that can sell products for the U.S. Mint, and you have to go through certification to do that. So being one of 24 companies that can do that is a great accolade for him to have. And in 33 years, he has maintained he and his father's business has maintained an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and have never had one complaint. So again, this article says that central banks bought a record number of 399 tons of gold in the amount of $20 billion in the third quarter alone, and a substantial amount of gold was bought by banks that has not been publicly reported. Then you saw the article that I said that said that the central banks are buying gold for even central banks are buying gold for a zombie apocalypse. And then Kitco News reported on November the 5th, there were record gold purchases made by central banks, and large chunks were made by mystery buyers. Family, people are getting into precious metals. They're fleeing into precious metals. Mystery buyers, billionaires, millionaires, home offices, families, central banks. We knew this was going to happen in 2019, I think it was April 2019, when all banks had to become Basel III compliant, which made gold a tier one asset. So these type of things happened under 45. Remember, we kept hearing from military intel, we have the gold, and gold will destroy the feds. Gold will destroy the Federal Reserve Company or Federal Reserve Corporation, because the Federal Reserve Corporation, number one, is not federal, is not a part of our republic. It's just a corporation, a business made up of these bloodline families that were connected to the United States Corporation, which is a fake government that usurped the republic, became a company that registered in Delaware as a non-profit religious organization. And by the way, that entity has been bankrupted. So the Federal Reserve was linked to that, along with your three-letter organizations that have to be dismantled according to Nasara law that was signed in 2000. So I have so many things running through my mind. So the Federal Reserve is something that has to be dismantled according to the Nasara, but there was a bill pushed forward. I believe it was House Resolution 24 that said it would monitor the Federal Reserve and dismantle it. So when you saw number 45 in front, or as the commander in chief, he said that he would get rid of the Federal Reserve. And the precursor to that was nominating Dr. Judy Shelton to be over the Federal Reserve. Why did he nominate Dr. Judy Shelton? Because she's a PhD, she studies economics, and because she believes in the gold standard. And so his desire was to put her above the chair, to chair the Federal Reserve, to monitor everything they were doing and return us to the gold standard. He also then put the duties of the Federal Reserve. If I find that article, I've reported on this extensively. You all might be able to find it. He put the duties of the Federal Reserve and the IRS under the United States Treasury Department. Now, the IRS also has to be dismantled under Nasara law and under motu proprio, because the IRS is an unlawful organization or entity. It's a corporation. It's a business. So House Resolution 25 also said that they would completely get rid of the IRS and taxation of the people, because that was unlawful. So 45 put the duties of the Federal Reserve and the IRS under the United States Treasury Department, because it's the duties of the United States Treasury Department, according to the Constitution for the United States of America, to handle all money matters. So I know I'm just, saying a lot, but I just want to, my desire is for you to stay encouraged. We are returning to the gold standard. We have returned to the gold standard behind the scenes. Again, Basel III compliance of all banks stated that gold would now become a tier one asset. We kept hearing gold would destroy the Fed. You have Zimbabwe, you have Russia, all the way in 2019 reporting that they have moved to the gold standard or are moving to the gold standard. You now have Russia having the strongest currency right now in the world, according to the news article that came out this morning. Now, then you had under 45 House Resolution 5404, which was introduced by West Virginia representative, a Republican by the name of Alexander Mooney, that would define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. Then again, he came forward in October. Some articles say the 6th, some say the 7th. Some articles that I reported on that in during October, the first part of October. Remember, Donald Trump said the fourth quarter would be the best quarter, and he kept saying the best is yet to come. So we're in a fourth quarter now. So Alexander Mooney introduced the same bill under House Resolution 9157 to define the fixed weight in gold. So some people have asked me, does that matter that we have bills? Because a bill needs to a bill needs to pass before it becomes a law. Well, family, does it need to pass? Maybe it does, but the Constitution already told you. The law of the land, I'm not concerned about admiralty law anymore or maritime law, which was under the United States Corporation, the United States Incorporated, that was incorporated in 1851? I think it was 18 something. I'm not concerned about what they say. Now that we're moving to the republic, okay? But the Constitution defines the dollar as a fixed weight in silver and furthermore as a fixed weight in gold. That's the law of the land, my darlings, that gold and silver that's legal or lawful money, not legal. Legal is something that is connected to statutes and codes that it's a law or legalities bound to the United States corporation. So there's a difference between what's legal and what's lawful. Lawful is what is lawful or correct according to the Constitution for the United States. Legal goes with the corporation, lawful goes with the republic. I'm concerned about what's lawful. So the United States Constitution defines the dollar as a fixed weight in silver, and it says that silver and gold are money. So I don't know if House Resolution 9157 has to pass once the Constitution has already stated what is lawful silver and gold. Additionally, keep in mind that there are many states, 14 or 15, and I'm not sure which one, in America that have introduced and passed legislation, and this happened a while ago, that made silver and gold lawful money. So already in America, we understand and overstand in certain states that silver and gold they are money, and silver and gold has the same value no matter where you take it. Every single nation in the world accepts silver and gold as money. They know this is real money. Greetings, Miss Belinda. Grand Rising. Somebody said from Gastonia, North Carolina. Grand Rising. So family, be encouraged. Central banks are buying up gold. Mysterious entities are buying up gold. Billionaires are buying gold. Millionaires are buying gold. And we are buying as we are able. Look in your local coin shops. Somebody also said you can look at other shops. It escapes me the name of the shop. Pawn shops. But make sure it's 0.999 pure gold and silver. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Gold is not in my budget. Okay. And then when I take into account the gold to silver ratio is 85-1, I know that ratio is going to decrease. So my bet is on silver, but if you can afford it, it's in your budget, get whichever you desire to get. So the ratio right now is 85-1, but at the end of the empires, of every empire, the ratio has always gone 3-1. Somebody commented on my channel that it will soon go 15-1, the ratio. So what does that ratio means? Right now, the gold to silver ratio is 85-1. It takes 85 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. That's what that means. It will decrease as we see the gold, people fleeing to gold and gold becoming the standard for all nations. It will increase. So, I mean, the gold will increase and silver will increase in value, but the ratio will decrease. So what was I going to say? So family, if you don't believe or you looked at your budget and gold is just not in your budget because it's like $1,655, $1,655 per ounce right now, consider half an ounce, a quarter of an ounce, an eighth of an ounce. You can get grams of gold. You can get gold shots or gold little rounds, nuggets. You can get gold Arum notes, which is $6.95 per note. And gold Arum notes are simply 24 karat gold that's pressed on a note. It's real gold, 24 karat pressed on a note, $6.95 per note. I believe you all, some people can fit that in their budget. And if you can't, take your pennies, your nickels, your quarters, $1 here and there, put it with a friend or some friends and some family members and buy it. So that way everybody can get in on this. If you desire silver is only a little over $21 per ounce right now. $21 might be a lot for some people. Consider half an ounce of silver, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce, 16th of an ounce if you can find it, grams of silver, 1 gram of silver, silver shots, because then the price will come down. Consider sterling silver, which is 92% silver. Remember when I was growing up, grandma used to have sterling silver. We had real china plates from what, off to eat. that we ate off, and we had sterling silver. She had a cabinet full of silverware and sterling silver items that you can eat with. My grandmother didn't believe in paper products and but they have like a paper, plastic, and all that. No, you ate off real silverware. So consider sterling silver. Consider what they call junk silver. Junk silver is constitutional silver, or coins that were minted before 1965. But you want to do that now because the premiums on constitutional silver, which used to be really cheap, the premiums are rising. Like sometimes constitutional silver can be more costly than just getting 0.999 pure silver coins, because so many people have gotten into buying constitutional silver because it's recognizable as real money. So when you can get constitutional silver, because if you ever got to a point where the dollar was completely decimated and you needed to trade or barter, people recognize those coins usually as money before they would recognize like a silver or gold 1 ounce coin. Now, so that's important to know that if you don't have it in your budget, that there are ways to get gold and silver in your possession. Okay, family? Another thing is you can scan your house and look at what you have and discern your needs, or distinguish your needs between your wants. Food, water, shelter, clothes, those are needs. Cigarettes, alcohol, some people might consider them needs. Cable, excessive clothes, junk that you're just storing just to look at. You ask yourself if that's a need or a want. If it's not a need, then possibly it can be traded for USD so that you can get into the silver and gold market. However, if you're not able to do that, family, then you should be doing this anyway. Get with your family, get with your community, and decide and discern who can make clothes, who can grow food, who has the seeds, who can educate, who can heal. I don't want to say C-U-R-E because you can get flagged for that. You're not supposed to say something can C-U-R-E you. Who can heal you? Get with those people who can, what else? Make shoes. When I was growing up, you used to go to the local shoe repairman, and we had shoes that lasted for years because the bottom of the shoe was always repairable. And if it wasn't repairable, to fix the whole sole, sometimes they would just put a tap on your shoe. I don't know if you all remember the taps they would put on there so that the sole would not go down. This was just the local shoe repairman that I don't even see them anymore. Where's the local shoe repairman, somebody? Where's the local baker that's not connected to Walmart or these big stores? The local baker that baked bread every morning so that you could just walk down and get your bread and bring it home in the event that grandma, was sick and didn't feel like baking bread. Where's the local grocery store like Schroeder's that we had in Portsmouth, Ohio, was right down the street from our house. I remember Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Schroeder had beautiful groceries, shining groceries, the sweetest fruit, the most green vegetables that he got from the garden, the community garden, or from the farm down the way in Southern Ohio, and the best meats. What happened to Mr. Schroeder in the neighborhood? What happened to the meat market that knew your grandmother and your mother and your mammy and your pappy, they used to say back in the days, and your Aunt Lula Mae, and he knew Billy Bob that lived down the way that had a baby by Barbara Ann on Susan Mae, because Susan Mae was going through menopause, so he had babies by Barbara Ann, and now he had 2 families. What happened to those type of people in the community? So Mr. Schroeder, the store that was right in my community, he knew us. He knew me. He knew my family members. He knew my children. He knew everybody. And when you would buy from the local, back then, you would buy from the local grocer or the local butcher. If you weren't able to pay, they had a ledger back in the day. This is the beauty of community, because they knew you. They knew your families, knew who you worked for. You had a relationship. They had a ledger, and they would mark down the meat and the food that you bought, how much you could pay today, $1.25. How much you could pay today was on one side. No, first you had how much it costs, how much you could pay today, and what you owed. That's how it used to be when we had local grocery stores, local bakers, local markets, local meat markets, local butchers. You would walk in there and they would ask you, "Oh, how's my dear? Oh, my dear's fine. How's Big Mama? She's fine. How's your mammy and your pappy? How's your mama? Oh, I saw your little brother running down here and I yanked him up because he was fighting those little kids down the street. I yanked him up and I gave him a good old-fashioned whipping, and then I told him I'm gonna tell your mama." And I would say, "Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. I always know I can depend on you." And he said, "All right, now tell your mama, I'm sorry, tell your mother-in-law and your grandmother that I got their account and everything's gonna be okay. I know they get paid on Friday. Everything's gonna be okay." And then they will ask you, "Did you send your son over here with the note saying that you needed some milk and some cereal? Because you know we're country. Some cereal?" "Yes, sir, I did." "All right, now I told him the next time you send a note here, make sure you sign it so I can make sure I can get you those products and I know it came from you." What happened to those days, family? What happened to those days, somebody said, is that we used to have a strong family unit, but now a lot of women are married to the government instead of the fathers of their children. Oh, that's deep. I did do a video about how the United States government sought to destroy the nuclear family and how we can restore that and correct it. Because you have a lot of men that are outside of the family union. Now, for whatever, we're not blaming, I'm not going to blame anybody. I'm just stating facts. A lot of men are outside of the family in certain communities. And a lot of women now are, they can, if they feel that they need to leave or want to leave the family unit, they can. Because most marriages are actually disrupted by divorce, and divorces are initiated mostly by women for whatever reason. Some people say it's abuse. Some people say it's because he had babies on him. You used to be a time that was kind of common in some areas. You already knew that they had babies. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It used to be common, but now if you have anything like that happen or irreconcilable differences, then you can just leave. And if you're a woman with children, a lot of women can go and get government assistance like Section 8, welfare, ADC, I think they call it, food stamps and all those things. And in order to receive those benefits, you may not have a man living in the house. Well, that's changing now, because now you have to work. If you want to receive a free handout, it's not free anymore. You have to work at least 20 hours, and you have to give an account for which jobs you've applied for, and they make you go through programs to find a job. So all those free handouts that the left used to do to get us dependent on the system, that's crashing too. Goodbye. We're going to have to learn how to stay with our families or get counseling when we have trouble. Because back in the day, if you try to leave, honey, I remember trying to leave because my husband, my children's father, and I got into an argument. I went to my grandmother's house and I said, "Grammy, I'm mad. Oh, he done made me mad now." My Grammy said, "Okay, where are the children?" She stopped me at the door. I said, "Well, Grammy, I was going to pick them up after, I talked to you to make sure you're going to let me and the kids come." And she said, "Over an argument? A disagreement?" She said, "Now I know your husband because y'all grew up together as children. And this union was a union between not only you and him, but our family and his family. The whole community agreed that you were a good match. So you are not coming into my house over a simple disagreement. You made that bed. Now you got to lay in it." And I looked at Grammy like, "Are you serious?" And she said, "Yes, I am." So I took my little rooty tootie right on outside of Grammy's house and went marching back to my husband and talked about the disagreement we had. And then I called his mother, who lived 2 doors down from me. See, people don't want to do this anymore. Now we too haughty. We too grown. We don't need anybody. We think we're an island that we can survive. I'm gonna do this by myself. You hear women say, "I can't stand a mama's boy." These are the women that want to take control of the man, control his mind, control the unit, control the relationship, and don't want to be held accountable to anybody or for anybody. Typically, that's the type of woman that does not want a man to have a relationship with his mother. Now, it's not for me to decide how much of a relationship a man should have with his mom. I don't know. That's not my thing. But women that say that typically don't want to be held accountable. So yeah, Grammy told me right. She sure did. You got to work out them arguments. So I called my husband's mother. Like, we've been knowing each other since we were like 10. We loved each other. We at high school we loved each other. We went to college together. All of our best friends to this day, although he passed away in January, we still are in contact with each other. We went to Berea College in Berea, Kentucky together. Then came back home and finished school in Southern Ohio. He had a business. We did that together. He taught me about credit. He taught me about entrepreneurship. He taught me so much about life as a man, even though he was only 2 years older than I, and we were high school sweethearts. So I would call my mother-in-law, which is something women don't want to do today. A lot of us have gotten too arrogant. And I would call, good morning, my mother-in-law. She would come as the judge. People would tell you, don't judge me. You can't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't shame me. My mother-in-law helped to raise me, okay? She said, if you judge yourself, nobody will have to judge you. Okay. And she said, the thing about shame is if you feel shame, it's because it comes because you know you're doing something that you should not do. So look yourself in the mirror, judge yourself first, and nobody will have to judge you. This is the beauty of Kia just said a few minutes ago. This is the beauty of having marriages where the families are involved. I know people don't want to hear that today. This is the beauty of some cultures that have arranged marriage. This is the beauty of community. So we're communal people as a whole. Everybody's typically communal. So my mother-in-law would come and settle disagreements and arguments, or which we didn't argue much, but disagreements between us, so that we would both be there for the sake of the children. So why am I saying all this? I'm saying we're going to have to get back to family, the culture of family, community, the culture of community, supporting and helping each other, protecting the children, okay? Because families protect the children. Additionally, the greatest way to generate wealth is through families, through the family unit being intact. Now, you determine how that should look. But the elders, yes, had wisdom, and they would sit down in front of us. I've heard people say, keep your mama out of my business. Keep the pastor out of my business. Keep this person out of my business. Don't tell them what I'm doing. Why? Because you don't want to be held accountable for anybody? See, I'm the type of person, and people tell me, what if I judge you? I'm the type of person, I say, judge me. I want you to judge me. I want you to give me a critical analysis of my life. I desire for you to give me constructive criticism, because how else am I going to grow? I don't get it. Don't judge me. Honey, my husband didn't have to call his mama. I called her. Okay, nobody had to call a pastor. I called the pastor. Nobody had to go and get a therapist. I called the counselor, because if I'm in error, I need to be held accountable so that I can do better. It's the only way you can do better if somebody judges you or do some critiquing of the way you're behaving. But you have typically women do this. They want the men away from their children. They want the children that they had before them. They want the men away from their mothers. They want the men away from everybody, because they want to have total control. And these are the same women, if they divorce you, they'll try to take half. But here's the thing, fellas and ladies. If you don't want somebody, to take half of your assets that they do not deserve, then before you get married, you sit down and you have an adult conversation about finances. Anybody that does not want to have an adult conversation, hi Keith, hi Kathy, about finances, should be somebody that maybe you reconsider whether or not you want to marry them or desire to marry them. They should be able to sit down and talk about finances. And also, you as a responsible person should have, or if you're considering marriage, you must do estate planning first. Protect your cars, your houses, your money, your Iraqi dinar, your foreign currencies, your stocks, your bonds, your businesses, and all of your assets by putting them in a trust. I'm going to re-upload that video that I did with a trust advisor, a trust professional. excuse me, when you have those assets protected in a trust before you get married, nobody can have access to that trust. So gentlemen, I don't want you to keep being afraid. A lot of men are afraid to get married because they think, well, my wife, if we ever have a disagreement, she can just divorce me and take all my assets, and I've worked too hard for my assets. Then you have some women who have assets because, especially in second marriages, she's already had assets. She may already have a house. She might already have a business. She might already have money. And she's like, oh, if I get married and it doesn't work, he could take half of my stuff. Well, I'm going to ease your mind. I'm going to re-upload that video about a professional that's talking about how to protect your assets. And then we're going to have somebody to come on and talk about you can have a relationship and marriage in the private so that the state does not have a way to dictate the division of your assets. You put your assets in trust before you get married. So what they say, own nothing, control everything, is a statement by John D. Rockefeller. So you do not own your assets. You put them in a trust, and a trust owns and holds those assets and manages them, and so that you then control that trust. Own nothing, control everything. This is why people get mad at millionaires and billionaires and get mad at them for, oh, they don't pay taxes. We don't know how much they have. You don't, because it's all put in the trust, and then you can do it in such a way that where you have anonymity. So you put your assets in trust before you get married. That person doesn't need to know about what you have. That's up to you to tell it, but they don't have to know what you have in these trusts. Okay, because that is already predetermined before you got married, and you've already decided how those assets will be divided in that estate planning. While you were doing estate planning before you got married, and in those trusts, it determines what happens upon your death and how those assets will be divided. A trust is different from a will. A will expresses your wishes only, the wishes that you have upon your death only. That's it. It does not determine or decide who gets assets. It does not guarantee a division of assets. The will does not guarantee that at all. Now, a will is best to have a will in place than have nothing at all, because a will is a part of estate planning. But a will goes through probate. That means a will goes through court. That means you got to pay an attorney. And that also means that the court will decide the division of assets. You will have somebody who they will assign to go and marshal the assets or gather the assets, and they will determine. They'll try to go to according to your will, but they don't have to. They don't have to, because it's, again, a will must go through probate, and it's not living in a private. So it's the probate process is lengthy, it's costly, and people can contest the will. If they contest the will, every time they contest it, there are fees associated with it being contested, okay? And when the fees are associated, those fees will most likely, they will come out of your estate. They will come out of the things that you have determined are supposed to be divided among your loved ones. That's a will. It's lengthy, it goes through probate, and it's costly. And it can be contested. So it's better to have a will than nothing in place. But on the other hand, dear, if you have a trust is a lawful document that operates outside of the system. The courts do not get involved. Lawyers do not get involved. Judges do not get involved in that process. Okay. So you can determine what happens, like if you were to get sick, you can determine which nursing home or nursing facilities you're going to go to. You can protect all your assets, because at some point, if you go to a nursing facility, the first thing they ask is, what are your assets? How many homes do you have? And honey, if you don't tell them, they'll go looking for it. How many homes do you have? How many cars do you have? How much stocks and bonds do you have? And they liquidate it to pay for your care. You want to protect all of that by putting all of your assets in a trust. Then your family or your separate trust can pay out for those rehabilitation services. So there's a way you can become wealthy through life insurance policies. So the professional that I'm going to upload today, when you contact him, he'll teach you how to do that. He told us in the video, get $1 million policy, and you can have one-on-one consultation with him on how to grow that, how to allow that to maintain wealth or provide wealth for your posterity, because the Bible says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. The second part of that scripture says the wealth of the wicked are laid up for the righteous. And that's why we like Executive Order 138/18 that was signed under number 45, because what they did was they liquidated the assets of those people who participated in crimes against humanity, and those assets will come to us via Nasara, via humanitarian projects, via universal basic income type of things. So that's going to happen. But a wise man or woman leaves an inheritance for his or her children's children. We call that your posterity or your future generations. So have a trust in place before you get married, and then you won't have to worry about somebody stealing or taking your assets if you get divorced and have to go through courts. The courts have no rights and no type of way to to know what you own or what your trust own. So men and women, if you desire to get the family unit back together and you desire marriage so that you can restore store generational wealth for your families, I encourage you to have something in place to participate in estate planning. Sister Kathy says, I have both a will and trust, and that's wonderful. That's beautiful. So have those assets put in a trust and protect them so that you will be more likely to get married. Also, there are ways to get married outside the system. I want to bring my friend Taj Diami Bay and his friend, his sister Tiffany, to talk about how you can get married so that the courts do not have any reign, rule, or control over your marriage. So finally, family, also, I want to say you need to make sure you have your assets in trust once you get married too, because when you have those assets in trust, it will determine in the trust how those assets are divided, and no court can get involved. So anything that you do together as a family unit has to be done together once you're married. And I believe your partner needs, or your companion or your wife or husband needs to sign off on that as well. So you see people trying to sneak and go around creating trust without their spouse's signature, and it could come out back to bite you. But I will let you go ahead and talk to a professional about that. Somebody says, Dr. Pruitt, I went to court 2 times due to will fights. And yes, because people will contest your will. They will. And it would draw out that process. Sister Kathy said she had to go through that 2 times. The Get said the state of Alabama allows people to bring their Bible to court, and that is their marital contract, no government involvement. I love that, because remember, back in the day, you recorded marriage in the Bible, the date and the time and the minister that married you in the Bible. You also recorded births in the Bible before they had birth certificates. So another person says fiat money and debts can only be paid in gold. Woo! So finally, family, I'm going to wrap this up. Let me just give you the benefits of the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. You might want to write these down or rehearse them later by replaying this video. Number 1, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, also known as NASARA, and the global version of that is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act that was signed into law in 2000 under Bill Clinton, but was not announced on September 11th as it was supposed to be announced. 9/11, 2001, because they didn't want us to be free, and probably because, from the good side of that is because you still had nefarious people in power that need to be dismantled. So the bad part of that is that they did not want to pay off the debt with the gold, as somebody said. So they removed the gold from the towers, and some people just did not go to work that day because they knew something was going to happen. You know what they did to the towers on 9/11, and then you know what happened with the CGI plane that they sent into the Pentagon, from which the announcement was supposed to come about Nassar and Jazar. Now there are some rumors, according to Anna von Reitz and other people in the military, that gold has already been put forward to pay off the United States debt and Australia debt, which means that we are already on a gold standard. So you have 2 systems operating side by side. The United States Corporation, before it was totally dismantled and before that mass arrest occurred, and the Republic. So remembering through motu proprio, Pope Francis had written a letter to Obama and said Obama is not the president of the United States of America, the republic. Obama is the president of a corporation. And he said, our time is up. The corporation must be dismantled. And if we don't do it of our own volition, he said, I'm demanding that every president steps down, that every what do you say? The IRS, the FBI, CPS, all three-letter organizations, you must cease and desist. He said, all attorney and judges and court officials, you must cease and desist because you are a part of the British Crown and the Vatican and the U.S. corporation. They must be dismantled. And if you don't cease and desist, then the Grand Army of the Republic will come in and remove you and arrest you. And so that is exactly what is going on right now, that we're seeing this arrest. So according to Nasara Jazara, number one, it was zero out all credit card debt, mortgages, bank loans, automobiles, loans, and such. Number two, it will abolish income tax. Number three, it will abolish the IRS. Number four, it will increase the benefits for senior citizens. So right now, a lot of senior citizens are actually homeless, especially with inflation going through the roof, but that Nasara will increase your benefits. Number five, it will return constitutional law to all courts, because now we're operating on maritime law and admiralty law under the United States corporation and other corporations all over the world. But it will return constitutional law. Number six, it establishes new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days after the Nasara Jazara announcement. Number seven, it monitors all ELECTIONS and prevents fraudulent activities. And that's why I reported on yesterday that National Guard has been deployed in 14 states. The 14 states, I don't know if I got all 14 states in which National Guard was deployed in order to safeguard the ELECTIONS and cyber security. It was a breaking news article. The National Guard have deployed 14 states to help states with ELECTION cybersecurity. North Carolina, Arizona, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Louisiana, New Mexico, New York, Washington, West Virginia. And somebody said I forgot Tennessee. Number eight, it creates new United States Treasury currency backed by gold. There are some chatter about whether it be called USN or USTN, United States note or United States Treasury note. Number nine, it eliminates the Federal Reserve System. We went over that. Number 10, initiates new United States Treasury bank system in alignment with constitutional law. And that's why all banks had to become Basel III compliant and Basel III and Basel IV compliant. Basel III is what made banks become made gold tier one asset. Number 10, it restores financial privacy, and that will probably be through the quantum financial system and everybody having a quantum account. So it restores financial privacy. No longer will they be able to spy on you. So that's why we're not concerned. Yes, Biden did sign an executive order saying they could spy on us and we wouldn't have privacy and we will have a world reserve coin. But that is just information that they're getting out there to awaken the masses before they make this announcement that they've restored financial privacy and returned us to the gold standard. Number 11, it restores financial privacy. Number 12, it retrains all judges and lawyers in constitutional law. So even though under motu proprio, which was a letter that Pope Francis had written to then President Obama, who was a president of the United States corporation, and said that all lawyers and judges were to cease and desist, that was because they had a British accredited registry license, or they passed the bar, which means that you work for the crown, and also means you have Esquire behind your name. So now you have a title of nobility. So when you have a title of nobility and you have an allegiance to the crown, you're working for the crown, probably unbeknownst to you, and not necessarily for the people. So a lot of lawyers and judges, they're only practicing the law that they were taught. They don't know necessarily that these laws are working against the people. And I had a good friend to tell me that she said, Kia, a lot of stuff that you're studying, you're telling us, she said, I did pass, and I went through all my classes. And she said, but we weren't taught any of this in school. So we're thinking we're doing the best for the people, not realizing that we have an allegiance through the crown, although you must pass the bar. So it'll retrain all judges and lawyers who desire to maintain their job and their standing, to be retraining constitutional law. Number 13, ceases all aggressive United States government military actions worldwide. That's why you didn't see any war under number 45, because he was returning us back to the republic and implementing Nasara right in front of our eyes. We're so grateful, and that's why he made an agreement with Kim Jong-un and went to North Korea, and he went all over the world to establish peace, because behind the scenes 209 countries not only agreed to return the gold standard, yes, they did that, but also agreed to world peace. Number 14, it establishes world peace. Number 15, it ejects trillions of dollars into the economy. Under number 45 speeches, one of his speeches, he said we are ejecting trillions of dollars into the economy. He also said that the fourth quarter will be the best quarter, and the best is yet to come. He also did some type of, I can't think of what it's called right now, where these businesses will go into decimated communities and actually build them up and put businesses inside them. I'm a part of that committee, and I attend those meetings through webinar. I can't even think the name of that, but ejects trillions of dollars into the economy. Number 16, releases enormous sums of humanitarian projects, some of which you will be involved in when you get a return on your investment with your foreign currencies, and also with the gold and silver that you have. And some of you already have wealth. So you will be the leaders that will help humanity. So we take that very seriously. And then you also had something that was called, they had some type of humanitarian efforts before number 45 came online. And some of these people became involved with, I think it was government entities, benevolent government entities. They had to give their name, they had to do background checks, and they were told that if they create humanitarian projects, that when we return to the gold standard and the republic is restored, they will be able to actually implement their humanitarian projects. So number 17, releases new technologies, yes, like med beds and other technologies for our healing. Number 18, it reduces the work hours to 20 hours per week, because people were feeling like they're enslaved, working 40, 50, 60 hours, but it reduces the work hours to 20. And number 19 gives people 21 and over $100,000 per month for 11 years in a non-interest bearing account. This is the information that I received. This is what I've also researched and tried to support it through my research. But as somebody said, use your own discernment, family. Do your own due diligence to study, to listen to the things that I'm saying, but also to other people, and figure out what is important for you to know or trust or believe. So family, somebody said stop listening to people, especially on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, that can even go for me. You don't have to listen to me, but my purpose on this channel is to encourage your soul, to bring you global economic and global news and geopolitical news and leadership information, and information to help you to become highly self-actualized and to raise your consciousness. That is my purpose on this channel. It is up to you whether or not you desire to listen to it. So family, it is now 10:55 a.m. on this beautiful moon day. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and to encourage your soul and inspire you to live the most magnificent life, my darling, that you so gloriously and so wonderfully desire and deserve. Peace, family. I love you so much. It's time for me to work out, and then I have an appointment at 12:30. Namaste. Mwah. Go out and make this day a great day. And if you have any gold needs, contact Andy Sheckman, info@milesfranklin.com, and let him know that Dr. Kia Pruitt sent you. So I will let you all go ahead and communicate with each other, and also make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video according to your discernment. I love you, family. Peace. Namaste.